I am multi-gaming talk. I love stealth game, and tonight we cover a new stealth game. Well, new now, it's a few months old, but this is a 007 First Light review. Now, it's coming from someone that has played the game twice from start to finish. Now, I will be honest, I won't chill for the game. I won't trash it for some political war or some crap like that. It will just be my honest take as someone that played video game for now 3 decades. I'm old, I know. I look like it, probably, most likely. With that being said, I use a star system. That star system has 5 stars, and I take away stars as I talk about the game, if it does lose stars indeed. So let's explain these stars. The first star I have in a game is the gameplay and the level design. It is very important. The second star is the story and the plot. The third star is the character in the dialogue. The fourth star, immersion and atmosphere. And the final star is music and sound design. Now, I'm kind of sad because that game could have been great. That game could have been amazing. That game could have been what it's not. I know I have an accent. Sorry about that. Hopefully, you will stick around to hear my thoughts on this game. I got so many things to say. Let's get into it. What can I say to start the gameplay approach to this review? Well, I will start with the negative because I really take that with art. I really love games, and it's coming from a honest point of view. It's coming from someone that really wanted to love this game so badly, and it started off horrendously. Now, let's start with the negative of the gameplay. The negative is mostly, you see what's going on right now? It is a walking simulator. It was my first playthrough and I didn't realize what I was getting into. I kind of expected some action at some point, but this very long intro in this game highlights one of the game's biggest mistake, the walking simulator. And I do think one of the big issue with this game is the rating, because it was rated T for teens. So I think they needed to tone down the violence and the action, and that might be the biggest explanation on why we got like a very long intro that's just a walking simulator. And this is very unfortunate because again there are a lot of aspects to this game that I love. And just to finish off on the gameplay aspect about the walking simulator, you see right now this is more clips from that first stream I did about this game, and it's just unbearable. All of these walking around sequence spread out throughout the game. Most of the MI6 gameplay actually sucks. Really, the walking simulator really, really cheapens and ruin the experience. Like, there are aspects of the game you just don't want to play again. I didn't touch the intro after that first playthrough. I will be honest. I did the rest of the game, but like this intro has no replay value whatsoever. Enough with the negative. I will accept and tell this. Despite my gripes overall with the walking simulator and the driving simulator of that game, I will admit that I did enjoy the action. I did enjoy the rest of the gameplay when I was actually playing a game and not watching a character walking around. As you can see, I was really bad. Like I got my butt ended over really badly there. But overall, the gameplay was enjoyable. The gunplay, the fist fight had glitches, and it wasn't always perfect, but it was fun. It was the best part of the game, and I just wished we took out most of the walking simulator crap. But again, I will really reinforce that. I think the control are really good, and I think it was very fun. And the action itself, and I think the different types of attack you can have on end-to-end combat, that was fun. It added something. And the other thing I really enjoyed was using the surrounding, like throwing bottle, throwing something, and it was very fun. And the boss fight themselves were okay. They were not perfect. Most of these boss fights are the same. Um, Click something with the Q lens, click something else, and then beat the guy or burn the guy with one of the surrounding items. But again, they tried something, and it was a fun game. So again, I had issues with it. It wasn't perfect, but it was enjoyable. One big strength of this game, the level design. As someone that enjoys stealth game, I will tell you this, it was very good. Now, the reason why I say that, it's because we got a sandbox. Most of the levels, you have different ways of playing these levels, even some of the semi sandbox level, like the tech building. I can't remember the exact name, but it was like the Nightfall mission. It was one of the least sandboxy mission. Even that one had sandbox in some areas. And what I mean by sandbox is there are several ways to beat the level, and I think it's a very good thing. It's very important for light level diversity. And when you really look at the background, you have very different mission. You have like open mission like the one you see right now. You have other mission inside buildings, inside parties, inside bars. You have a training that's actually playable uh several times, and that's very fun. What else do we have? We also have like a Arctic base with a lot of tech gameplay added at the very end of the game. That was very fun. We got an airplane. We got an airport. We got a hotel. We got so many different things. Um, we got a resort. The resort mission is so fun. You can do the objective the way you want. It's almost the open world, and I don't really like open world, but I do like my sandboxes. So overall, the level design I think was a success. It deserves credit. It deserves value. It was indeed very good. So now we pause on that review for a very short segment that I feel will deserve a bigger video where I will compare two games that have two different approach on that matter. But the culture war, a lot of people call 007 First Light a woke game. James Bond being woke. What a surprise after the Daniel Craig era. I'm not that surprised. That's my odd take. I'm not someone that screams woke all the time, all around, but when I see it, I see it, and I agree. There are some critique out there that I disagree with. Like, oh, James Bond is not masculine, he is not this, he's not that. Well, his way of dealing with things is hitting people and is impulsive, and a lot of men, let's be honest, are impulsive. Um, what else? Well, he is looking pretty and he gets the girls. I even if there's a power structure about who truly get who, but he gets the ladies, folks. James Bond I think he is a solid James Bond. The voice actor is cool, and his attitude of a brat, that's kind of charming. But anyway, to go back to the culture war. So, if you really look around, you will find it. You will find it. Some of the dialogue is woke. You will find it because before Bond arrives and became 007, the latest recruit, there were six recruits, three guy and three girls. I said it, folks. I said that they counted that. And when you really look around, there's Monroe and James Bond that are white. The bad guys are white, but most of the allies are minorities, Muslim, whatever. So this game doesn't even try to hide it. And I think that was part of the marketing. They really wanted to trigger the right leaning folks. And I think they did. They did success on that aspect. Now, does that mean the game is bad? I think other reason make this game bad. The culture war shouldn't be the reason why a game is bad. So that's the culture war aspect. And again, I think it will deserve a greater video when it's mashed up with Requiem. And a lot of folks are screaming, oh, James Bond is being bossed around by ladies. So what? It's woke for several other reasons more than just it's bossed around by ladies. Let's be honest about that. Now, the big thing I want to finish on with that short segment is if your entire review and critique relies on the culture war aspect and you cannot find yourself liking this game or you cannot find yourself any enjoyment out of that game just because of the culture war and because of the woke, have a welfare check somewhere. Maybe move out of your echo chamber, maybe try to think outside of the box, maybe stop having that mind state. Now, again, I will say it again. I don't think it's a good game, but I enjoyed it. And if you think it's a bad game just because of the culture war, I think you are wrong. Find valid arguments. Find valid critique of what's going on. More than just, oh, it's woke, therefore it's bad. I think it's a very bad setup. It's a very bad precedent. And let's be honest, you're no better than these activists if yourself you are an activist that push the culture war into every single thing you're doing. Or I should say, when the culture war is always the first thing that comes to your mind. Um, it wasn't the case for me. I really wanted to look forward for the game. And I will be honest, I ended up being disappointed at the very end. But it had nothing to do with the culture war. So now that's enough with that segment, and let's continue with the review. So this is a spoiler warning for the story. I will spoil the entire thing. Let's get into it. So the story is the next point. I do think the story itself is quite appealing, quite good. There are great moments. Like most of the cutscenes are on point. It's sad. Like Monroe dying was something, and I was about to tear up when eventually Greenway dies as well. It's so sad. You grow up to really enjoy this character, you get to know them, and it's something else. They did work on the story itself a lot, and I found most of it enjoyable. And I will also tell you this for most of the game, I was on board. I liked what was going on. It felt like a Bond movie that I could actually play as James Bond, which is amazing. And I think that was the point of this game. I think they really tried to make this James Bond game a movie game. And I think they succeeded. And it's not perfect again. But I think the story was mostly working well and I could see a movie eventually taking aspect of that. Or maybe they could split that game into two movies or something like that. I could see that happening. Again, the story was it did hold its own. It had weights, and every character dying was sad. And I think that's what made me love so much the story. I was heavily invested in what was going on with James Bond and him becoming a 007 and him being deeply flawed, but being charming as well. And that's an aspect for a later point on that review. But the story itself, it get a passing grade for me. Now let's get into the plot. The plot itself, I had issues with it. So James Bond in this game is depicted as being someone that's very lucky and he get through things because of luck, but they overplayed that card so much and it did take away a lot. It made this game, the immersion itself, not being as great as it could have been, and that's the next point. But I mean, plot armor is so massive on James Bond. It's also massive on like all of the bad guys until the point they need to die, and that was annoying. I don't want that. I was rolling my eyes so much on how much James Bond is being put through and he survives. Like even the segment I decided to clip for this year. Um so he reads a note and it says it saves himself from an incompetent monster and then by sheer luck he finds out that there's another guy inside and he takes him out as well because they are incompetent. But there's also a sniper that's also incompetent. So like incompetence is so pivotal at the center of the plot that it falls short. So many convenience, so many stupid moments, and you're like, oh, okay, that's the game. Like right now the sniper is there, but he lets James Bond take out the guy. It's when the fight is done that now the sniper shoots the guy. It's it was a gripe with me. It was very hard. Like you see that like now he will get shot, but James Bond will be spared, and then you can escape that. You get captured like so many times, and that's a trope. Like James Bond in the movies always gets captured, and that's always annoying. But like here, it just happens so much. Almost every mission you're captured, and that's so annoying. So I do think for that aspect of the game, the plot itself doesn't work. I think the plot itself is quite weak. And I'm not even getting into some of the characterization that's also weak. That's for a later point. But the plot, man, go away now. So the immersion itself, so that's the next segue there. Immersion itself was heavily damaged by the plot itself and how bombastic the game needed to feel and to try to be impressive and explosive, and it didn't always work. And then when you look at other aspects like the characters, it broke even more the immersion and the stupid that happens, like Bond accepting a drink from strangers. Like he's in a learning curve, and that's his character. But you still need to kind of explain for the writers on why can he be so stupid and like it's a miracle he survives the game, and I think that's the big issue with. Oh, he's stupid enough to get a poison drink. So how can he survive the game? Oh, he got lucky. It's like they 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 really dig deep the hole, and that's all it felt. Really, it's sad. But the immersion itself wasn't so great. Now the atmosphere. So despite the immersion losing there, I think the atmosphere itself was cool. I think the music did its work, and I think it felt like a spy thriller when I was playing. So I think the atmosphere was on point. It's just sad that the immersion itself wasn't there. So I I really liked how they address some of the aspects of the game and how you can bully the people like now in that clip. But overall, again, the atmosphere, the game was dark, but there was light, and I think that was one of the message of the game, and that was one of the few things that did land very well. And I was hooked when things were blowing up, and I was running around with my gun and shooting down bad guys, and again, the atmosphere itself was great. And that's also the segue for the next segment. Well, what can I say about the characters? If we only talked about the good guys, I think they nailed it. The good guys were actually fun. But you see, this game is a game that wants to be a James Bond game. That's a game that wants to have bad guys, like a James Bond movie. And this is when the characters they fell off. Like really hard. It's sad. It's unfortunate. You know why? Because in the uninvited mission, I actually enjoyed both bad guy. But you know what went wrong with them? It's the more you got to know them, the worse they became. They became caricature. They became progressively worse. And at the end of the game, I started hating these villain not because they were good villain, but because I hated what they did to them. So Damien at first he felt like a spoiled rich kid that had maybe daddy issues. We can't quite know. That's a parallel with James Bond that also seemingly has daddy issues or something like in the parental department. But at first it's like, okay, the premise is fine. Is it main bad guy material? Heck no. You cannot like build further than that. And if you don't expand on him better, if you don't give him better motive, if you don't work really well your character, that's all you will be. And this is all he was. That's Paul's brat with daddy issues. And that really annoyed me. And you know what? Like at some point you think you end him because you throw him from quite some high heights and you had something pokey in his eye, and I thought I in the first playthrough I thought I deleted the guide. That's right after the boss fight, and I think if he died there, I would be fine with that character. But then again, spoiler, they decide the Damien survived that, and he ends up being the ultimate big bad guy at the very end that just wants to take over MI6 because why not? It's a bad guy, you know. So he should have died there, and he would have died with glory. And you're like, oh, he had great moments, great lines. There was cool action, but then they made him survive and they made him come back. I don't know what they were thinking. Maybe they really wanted that final boss, and that bothered me a lot. Because again, I enjoyed a lot how he was introduced and how he started off to be. He became worse when he came back. And you know what? That's the same thing for his effing father. His effing father appears even more, and the fall he gets from glory is even harder. Because at first, the father is more of a very great character that's doing horrible thing to protect his son. And I can stand by that. I can be like, oh, that's cool. His son is his driving factor, but he's not an evil person. But no, you're wrong. Because once he come back, he's all about control and world domination, and his son is a pound. And you're like, oh, great. What did you do to your character? And you know what? At the very end, he wants world domination, like most of these effing James Bond villain. And I love James Bond. I love the movies, but I'm like, can we have something more? We deserve something more. Um, and they also had a missed opportunity because we delete Damien, and that could have been a driving factor on why his father should be the big bad guy and why his father should become more personal and more vengeful than what he was. But no, his father was seemingly okay with his son dying because his son was just a pawn. And like, yeah, it wasn't great, folks. And I'm sad to say that. I'm very, very sad to say that. Because I really wanted to love that father character, but I could not. And it's sad because I think we should measure the game by the bad guys. Especially if it's a story game where you start off great and they fall from grace. This is what happened. This is how I feel. So the next one, I'm very much tore apart with the dialogue. Because again, just like the characters, there was so much good and also so much bad. It's sad. So, I will start by saying I'm all in for consent and all. But if you address consent in a testing gadget setup instead of like, let's have bedroom fun, I think that's weird. It doesn't feel right. It feels forced into the story because they really wanted to address that. It was off-putting as it was going on. They're like, "Oh, I let you test these gadget on me," but then like an hour later, "Oh, James Bond, have some bedroom fun with a lady, but we don't hear consent when they are doing that." So it's like, bruh, um, move elsewhere your consent about gadget and place it at a bedroom fun sequence instead. That would have worked far better than what we had, but we got what we got. And it's unfortunate because some of the characters, they are colorful in what they say and how they act. And the other aspect to dialogue that wasn't all great. Uh Cressida, sometimes she would say weird thing like when she would talk to the boys, just to let you know they are boys, she would be like, "Oh, boys, boys, boys." It feels like maybe that was the purpose, maybe not, but it felt like an old lady talking to kids. And if that was the intent, that's disgusting. Um, but if it wasn't, then that reinforced the dialogue. I think the dialogue had weaknesses. It wasn't all working so great overall. And yeah, I think they could have improved on the dialogue or the placement of some of it. And don't rub off people the wrong way by having characters saying weird stuff. And it's like there's a moment where it's a bonding moment with Cressida and Monroe, and they're letting you choose between a painting about toxic masculinity and a painting about um Cressida uh, taste for art. That was weird, but hey, it was in the game, so I guess that's another thing. Music and sound design. I do think these two aspects go ends to end, and I think they nailed it with this game. The gadgets, they sounded believable even if they don't necessarily exist, or even if you haven't seen them in real life, and the people breaking stuff in houses, the chaos, the streams, and the voice acting was on point and believable. And again, the music, the cutscenes, the music at the end of the game, the music when you shoot at bad guys, the music. I think that aspect was nailed. It 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 worked well. We need more games like that with more memorable music. Um, and I'm glad we got that. And that was one of my complaints with Requiem. One of my complaints with, yeah, Requiem. That's my best example right now. But I think here they did it right. And the intro, like James Bond movies are known for their intro and the music song. And I think it was amazing. It's just sad that YouTube demonetize it or it's partially blocked in some places. But I guess that's a risk when you play the music. So overall, again, these two aspects nailed it. If the entire game nailed the same way the music and the sound did, the game would have been great. But it wasn't the case, unfortunately. So just before we cap off to the outro, I will say this. I think aspect of the gameplay I barely touched upon was the gadget. I did love the gadgets, and I also loved driving big vehicles like the garbage truck or the mining vehicle. These were great moments. I quite enjoyed. So again, the gameplay was the highlight when it wasn't a effing walking simulator. And um, overall, this game had so much to offer. They just had the wrong thing, or I should say, the wrong team involved in the making of this game. So this is the outro, my grade, my verdict on this game. I really wanted to love it. I'm a kid that grew up with GoldenEye, The World Is Not Enough, Nightfire, so many great James Bond games I did play over the years. Agent Under Fire, like even like in the Craig era with effing Bloodstone. I'm a big Bond guy, and maybe if I would replay all of these games, I would find the similar gripes with these games. But here we are with a 007 First Light review. I think the characterization of some of the character was very good. I think the gameplay was very good. But overall, it's not a great game because the story has issues, because the plot itself doesn't always work, because the villains they got worse as the story unfolds before your eyes. What if at the end the big bad guy dies from Isabella and you don't get the explosive final mission because we need a proper final boss? I think the game could have been far better, but here we are. This is what we got. So this game will have a unique grading because usually I only grade on stars, half stars, and what the game has to offer. But here, I decided I'd take out half a star from the get go because I don't think the game was ready for release. It glitched, it broke so many times. It was annoying. Sometimes I would spend effing 10 minutes, 15 minutes in the main menu trying to just play and always resetting the game because no touch would effing work, no control would effing work, the game would crash. The game was broken. Broken, broken. Rewatch the streams. It's unlisted, but it's very easy to find playlist, so you can find the streams. This game was broken. It wasn't ready for release, and it was annoying to pay full price for that. I almost had regrets. So from the get-go, I take out FSR just for that. And now we will do the stars rundown. So the stars rundown. My stars that I will take out are the following. So it loses half a star for gameplay because of the walking simulator aspect to the game. It loses half a star for dialogue, consent, precedent. It loses half a star for the piss poor villains. The more you see them, the worse they become. It loses half a star on plot, and half a star to immersion. Um, in the next one, um, well, there's no next one. Actually, yeah, the game wasn't ready. So again, this game overall, if you really count how I count, you will realize this game only has two full stars left because I chip away stars here and there. So if it's a two stars, that'd be a 4 out of 10. That may sound harsh because I know a lot of people were saying, "Oh, it's average," or "It's good," "It's great," "It's that," "It's this." I think a lot of the culture war took on the aspect of, "Oh, girl power, therefore a good game," or the reverse also happened, girl power, bad game. I think the game had lots of different issues than just girl power. It's not truly an issue. It's some of the dialogue. It's some of the characters. It's how they broke their own game. So I really wanted to love this game. I loved Requiem. Requiem convinced me to rush into the rest of the franchise because I got most of the games. I just never got to play, and now I get to have a blind playthrough of Zero that's I'm 50-50 on, but all of that is to say, First Light for me is a 2 stars out of 5. It's a failure, it's a failed game. I didn't want it to be a failed game. I really wanted to love it, and I was excited about it. It's rare I purchase new game. I don't like where the industry is going at, and I still bought this game, you know? I own it. I have the disc, juicy disc. Will I ever replay it? I don't know. Maybe question mark. I don't know. What really turned me off is the walking simulator and the effing glitches all the time. Maybe on other port that's better. I played on Xbox. I don't know what's the explanation behind that. So yeah, that's my grade. I am multi gaming talk and do all of the YouTube stuff if you enjoyed. We do lots of retro gaming here, mostly retro gaming, and if they start deleting all of the disc, there's no modern gaming anymore here. With that being said, I am Multi Gaming Talk. I wish you all great night, day, whatever time it is for you. I will talk to you later on the stream or in video. Have a great one.